Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Event Crowd Success Stories podcast. I'm joined today by Event Crowd alumni Antoine Miller. Antoine, how are you, mate? You okay?
Good, thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Mate, no problem at all. Really, really good to have you here. So, for our listeners, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Antoine. I'm 30 years old. I come from London. Currently live in Bristol, relocated last year. Um, and I started my career a bit of a tricky one, to be fair. I left school and wanted to go to university. I actually wanted to study a very niche um, course that was extreme sports management at Southampton Solent University. Unfortunately, yeah, the grades didn't quite add up. Didn't get in. So yeah, it was a kind of, I think, a similar story to a lot of people, where it's back to the drawing board and see you know what you can do. Uh, I did work experience at a shop called Snow and Rock. That was when I was like 16 or something like that. And when I came to leave school, I went back there and I popped my head in through the door and I said, "Hey, do you remember me?" And they were like, "Yeah, cool. We'll get you on for a summer, like a winter season." And yeah, I spent the winter fitting snowboards and selling people goggles and helmets and snowboard stuff, and it was kind of fun. Um, and then yeah, I went from there very randomly. I went to Chanel, the fashion brand. Uh, I then spent the next 6 years there. I was only meant to be there for 3 months on a part-time basis, but 3 months turned into 6 years. And yeah, went from there to yachting, went out to sea for
Mm.
best part of 5 years, to recruitment, to events. So it's pretty, yeah, pretty broad kind of career so far. But yeah, it's been
Yeah.
good.
No, mate, definitely. In terms of what is it you're doing at the moment? Because I know obviously we'll come on to like how you found Event Crowd and everything
hmm
like that and
hmm
why you were looking for it. But like, could you tell our listeners a little bit about what it is you're doing right now with the company that you currently work for?
Yeah, sure. I'm currently the event and competition manager for Paddle for All. They are a company that supply um or they have paddle courts, paddle tennis. I fell in love with the sport, started playing myself, and so I've got a very sporty background. And yeah, I thought, I've got to get involved with this, and so I sent out a random email to all four clubs in Bristol,
Nice.
and luckily one of the directors at the company, and it happens to be the company that I now work for, reached out and said, "Sounds great. Let's have a chat." And here I am as the event competition manager.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. I love that. I love the way that you actually went out and so what you emailed each one of the four
hmm
different places in. Yeah,
Yeah.
mate, that's brilliant because I think you really do have to get yourself noticed these days, especially when there's so much competition
hmm
when going for different roles. If there's something advertised on if there's something advertised on Indeed, it's so
hmm
hard to get your foot in the door there and you have to do
Yeah.
something to really stand out from the crowd. So massive hats off to you for doing that. So whenabouts did you because I'm trying to get an idea of the timeline here. So
hmm
you got your job at Paddle for All towards the end of 2023, is that correct? Towards the end of last year.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
cool. And when did you graduate from Event Crowd?
Probably about 2 weeks prior.
Oh wow, so that's quite quick then from
Yeah,
graduation.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
fair play.
something like that. So I was again I'm quite privileged enough to I was unemployed when doing the event crowd course. So I was able to fully focus on it
Yeah.
and essentially get it done as quick as possible without rushing it. Um, and then yeah, and in that process, so I was relocating my life to Bristol, so having to juggle, you know, finding a new flat, paying rent, paying
Mm.
bills, all alongside kind of doing the course. Yeah, pretty big challenge, but at the same time, yeah, the yachting world helped, which it's a great world if no one knows what it is. Yeah, it'll be yeah, I can go into that.
No, because I think I do remember when you started the course. I vaguely do remember, because obviously we speak to so many students and we have so many students on
Hmm.
the course, but I do remember, I think it was myself and you had a call quite early on.
Hmm. Yeah, we
We had
did.
we had a student services call, and I remember thinking, I think sometimes it can be quite clear when someone is going to go through our course and is going to get into the industry. You can tell with people sometimes when they join that they're going to do really well. And I think, what would you say to someone who, because this is, I think, is a really good, I think you're a very good example of like a life lesson that a lot of people can take, whether it's if there's someone that's going to go through Event Crowd, or if there's someone who's going to go through university or is trying to break
Hmm.
into an industry. What
Hmm.
would you say to those people? Because I think there's a message here about getting out what you put in, which I think is something that a lot of people don't do. So, what's something that
Yeah.
you would say to those people who want to break into an industry to maybe take a bit of knowledge from yourself?
I'd say have a little bit of an idea of what it is that you want.
Yeah,
You know, the course itself or a university course or whatever it is that you do, they're going to have a syllabus, aren't they? They're going to have a set amount of things that they're going to teach you, and that's what's going to get you the qualification. But we all know, I mean, from school, I don't know how much everyone uses what they learned from school, but you know, I use certain things, but definitely not everything.
yeah,
So having an idea of what it is that you want to get out of it, and then doing a little bit of extra research or
yeah,
or just educate yourself on the industry that you want to get into. You know, how to do a little bit of extra work on, finding out, doing a little bit of extra research into what I could potentially go on to do, or potentially use the course to then go on to do in a sports kind of
absolutely. Yeah,
facility or company or whatever that may be. So yeah, it's just having a. I really don't like thinking too far ahead. I
mm-hmm.
kind of set myself little goals, and once I've set that little goal and I can tick it off,
Sure.
and I set myself the next that next goal. I can't think 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, because things change so quickly.
Yeah,
So having just a really brief idea, and I don't think it needs to be too specific, because I think you'll get yourself in a bit of a confusing mindset. Should I be doing this career change? Should I be doing this course? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing something completely different anyway? I kind of say break it down, you know, pros and cons and all that kind of thing.
okay.
But yeah, I think it's just having a small idea into what it is that
Yeah,
you're going into.
yeah. So it's kind of, I get what you're saying. So it's kind of having an idea of like the path that you do want to go down to. So
Mm.
obviously with the events industry, there's so many different pathways you could go down.
Hmm.
But I do agree. I definitely think it helps coming in with an idea of where you want to go and then kind of learning
Hmm.
about, and potentially obviously for yourself, you were very aware that's what you wanted to do, because like you sort of said at the start, you've had that passion for kind of extreme
Hmm.
sports and out there
Hmm.
kind of sports that
Hmm.
aren't the tradition.
Yeah.
So you knew you wanted to go in that, you've got a vision, you've got a goal, and you kind of know what steps. So I think
Hmm.
I guess maybe the advice there for people who don't have that is to try and work out um, what to try and the advice there for people is to try and work out which avenue you want to go down, to learn about the
Yeah.
industry, try things out, see what you
Absolutely.
like, see what you don't like, and then stick to something and follow that. In terms of then coming to Event Crowd, because I think
Mhm.
when exactly did you enroll? Was it mid
Uh,
2023?
yeah, but like June, something like that,
June.
in
Yeah. Okay.
2023, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. That was pretty much exactly the time that I moved
Mm-hmm.
from London to Bristol. So yeah, basically I'd been in recruitment for a year, which I really enjoyed, but it was really, what do I say? I really enjoyed it. However, it wasn't for me to just sit at a desk and
Mm.
look at a screen for 8 hours a day. Like, I needed something that was more active and more, um, for me, engaging. I know that I was speaking to candidates every single day, and I did enjoy that part. I loved the people that I worked with; they were all amazing. Um, but what I liked about the thought of going into events is that you have that build up, and then you've got to deliver, and you can see the kind of almost the product that you've created. That's the kind of that build up and that excitement to get an end goal was really amazing. And yeah, you could argue that, in recruitment, you speak to a candidate and you find them a job, and that's that, pinnacle. But there was something about events being a physical thing, going to an event, seeing all the people that you've brought there, and hopefully they're enjoying themselves, and you can be like, oh, that's cool, that's really cool.
This is so interesting to kind of hear that perspective of why events is
Mm,
great, because normally when we ask that question, we get the answer of it's really good to feel like you're putting on an experience for people, that you're creating
mhm,
memories for people. But there's actually something there that you've said where you've gone a bit deeper and you've thought about the entire process of it. And it's like,
mm,
if you compare the two that you're saying there of working in recruitment 8 hours a day to
mm,
working in events, it's like with one place you're a cog in a wheel, in a machine where you just churn out the same thing every day. Whereas that, you're
mm,
such an important part of the beating heart of
mm.
something even bigger. And yeah, no, it's good to hear your perspective on that, because everyone says similar stuff, but you've kind of looked at it in a slightly different way, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it all stemmed from, so I started my career properly at Chanel, and I was the assistant stock manager there, um, in the Bond Street store in London. And they used to do client events, almost on a monthly basis, if not kind of every 3 months or so. And I was able to see some of the events that they put on at the Ritz Hotel, for example. They took over one of the suites, and they put in some of their items, and just made it just incredible for anyone going to really immerse himself in the brand. They also did Saatchi Gallery exhibitions, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at the time, I actually tried to get into that side of the company. But unfortunately, at the time, there was no possibility for me. It was just not big enough of a thing at the time to get me on. Otherwise, you never know, I could still be there. Because again, the company was just outstanding, just if in all sense of the word. Um, and then decided to go yachting. And yachting is an insane thing to do, because you pack your bags and you leave home, and you book a one-way plane ticket, and you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then once you get yourself onto a boat, I mean, I'm sure most people have heard of below deck, and no, yeah, sorry, spoiler alert, it's not like below deck, but it's similar. I can say it's similar, but it's not quite the same. Um, but all the events that they do, all the dinner parties, the phone parties, whatever it is, like literally, there's no such thing as no in yachting. It's kind of like they say jump, you say how high, it's and that's the event side of yachting. You're almost doing it every single day, whether it's a beach setup or a private island, or this, that, and the other. So I saw a crazy side of what events could look like. Um, but yachting is exhausting. It takes its toll on you. You're away from home a lot. Friends, family, relationships, whatever. Um, and so yeah, decided then I need to come home
Yeah.
and try something different. And then that's when I went to recruitment.
Okay.
Then that's when moved to Bristol, and I was my girlfriend. She's an event manager too,
Oh, cool.
and we discussed about options, and she was like, "Antoine, you're the perfect type of person that events needs, because got this eye for detail, and I've got this kind of thinking outside the box kind of mentality that you need in events sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes it can be a bit more simple, but yeah, it does help. And then started Googling, event kind of management courses, and along others, but the event crowd stood out, and I or I downloaded the brochure, and really randomly, one of my girlfriend's ex-colleagues was on the face of the brochure. So we were like, oh, she was like, oh, I know that person. I was like, well, can I get in contact? And like, absolutely, So I did, reached out, and I said, look, I'll be honest, is this worth it? Because at the end of the day, if you're parting with X amount of money, you kind of want to know the value that you're going to get out of it. And, it's, I feel like there's all too many courses out there that take your money without actually giving you an idea of what you get out of it. You know, you kind of got to get into it first, and then you've kind of got to work from there. So anyway, the response was from her was extremely positive, and she basically it was a one-word answer. She said, "Absolutely." So I enrolled. I enrolled, and it's basically the first time I went back to school, if you want to call that, since I left school when I was 18. So that was interesting because I'm very dyslexic and nothing's easy, and I make everything really hard for myself. So going like relearning how to learn is was really interesting. But you know, there's so many benefits to the event crowd course that kind of allow you to kind of work at your own pace, and nothing that has to be too overwhelming. And you know,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's such an interesting story, your one, isn't it, of going and working for Chanel, having, as you touched on there near the start of that, the exposure to their events side of their business and the events that they do, and then going from that to yachts and super yachts, and then back to England to recruitment. So it's a crazy journey you've had. But
yeah,
really good to hear that we've been able to kind of, you know, help you in some ways is really lovely
Mhm.
to hear. But brilliant. Yeah. In terms of Paddle for All, then tell me a little
Yeah.
bit more about your role there. Because it's such an amazing feeling for us when our alumni go and get into the industry to see that you were able to go and break in so quickly after
Mm.
finishing was really lovely for us. So yeah, tell me a
Yeah,
little bit
no,
about your role within that company.
yeah. So kind of again, it's been a bit of a rolling theme throughout my career is, you know, like I said before, reaching out when there's no Indeed or LinkedIn job post. Again, just quickly on yachting, a lot of the ways that you find jobs is that you just go and approach a boat. You just
Mm.
approach a
Oh,
kind
really?
of yeah, you just approach a random person, even at a pub or a bar or whatever.
Okay.
Get to know that person, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I quite you know, you seem like a decent guy. Like, let's get you on for a trial. So it's a kind of a similar thing for paddle for all. You know, like I said, I absolutely love the sport. If people haven't tried it, please do. It's addictive. It's energetic. It's yeah. It's all a bit of. It's the best part. It's the best hybrid between tennis and squash. But so yeah, no, I got in contact, and yeah, the director of the company just mentioned, you know, we are a community driven club company. Um, you know, it's kind of in the name, paddle for all. You know, we want to
Mm.
make sure that as many people play the sport as possible, and enjoy it. You know, um, and at the moment, I've only been at the company for a couple of months, so
Mm-hmm.
definitely still trying to find my feet,
Sure.
understand, you know, how everything works still, and definitely because it's a startup company. I don't think I mentioned that they've only been in existence for a few years, 2 years or so.
Okay.
So again, I'm able to potentially create my role
Yeah.
effectively, you know, along the kind of brand guidelines,
Yeah, of course.
and deliver events, you know, from normal tournaments, to brand days, to charity days, to corporate days, to school, university, primary school. Options are endless, really.
Yeah.
Um, and um, and yeah, hopefully once I get really stuck into the job, you know, it'll be my baby kind of thing, you know.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
really take it on, and immerse myself in it, and again get to know the community around paddle and around the company as well, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to benefit from the events or competitions that we put on.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't work, that's fine, because
Mm.
there's 100 different options. You know, I think in this industry, not being afraid to try something new is so important.
Okay.
You know, from what I've understood about, you know, the community, the paddle community so far, is that they're quite afraid of change, but
Okay.
change can be embraced once it's there, or once they've seen that it works.
Okay.
And it's just having the confidence before that. you know, to just be
Yeah.
like, no, I promise you, get on court, like it'll be fine. It'll be a great day, I promise.
Antoine, you speak so well, mate. Brilliant. Honestly, it's just brilliant to sort of see like from that first initial conversation we had when you first joined the course to where you are
Mm.
now, and the way you speak so eloquently about events and about the industry is brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been an
Yeah,
absolute pleasure
no
to
worries.
talk to you. Is there anything you want to plug? Where can people find you if they want to connect with you on anything?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Antoine Miller, spell Antoine, and then Miller, on LinkedIn. I've still yet to crack how to work LinkedIn properly, but it is a tool that I want to exploit. So please, yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. If you find yourself in Bristol, or Swindon or Southend, we have Paddle for All courts. In those locations, we're opening 2 more this year in Eastbourne and Bracknell, with more hopefully opening in the near future. So please get on court. It's a hell of a game. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, if you're in Bristol, yeah, I challenge you.
Brilliant. Antoine, thank you so much for coming on. And yeah,
Right,
congratulations
no
once
worries, Ed.
again. Really, really proud of everything that you've been able to achieve. And I've no
No,
doubt
thank
you're
you. I
going to
appreciate
go
that.
on to have an absolutely fantastic career in the events industry and yeah, reach the very top of the industry. And yeah, thank you so much for
No,
coming on. And
I
it's been a pleasure to talk to
yeah,
you.
no, yeah, I appreciate it, Ed, and yeah, thanks to everyone at Event Crowd. Yeah, it's been great.
No problem. Thank you, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed.